How's it going, folks? So today I want to talk about the Revolt Summit that P. Diddy hosted last night, sponsored by AT&T. It was an interesting conversation. It was a bit tainted by normal ghetto activity from mostly the blue Democratic side. A lot of these Democratic or liberal-leaning folks like to say that they're not Democrats or they're not liberals. It's bullshit. Excuse my language. I have a friend that likes to say he's not a Democrat or he's not on that side, but everything that he says is literally party line conversation. I just wanted to go kind of person by person and do a little review of the conversation, which was a good first start to a larger dialogue within the black community, and I believe could pour over into a greater America in general, because black people talking to themselves and becoming more of a community can't do anything but help America as it stands today. T.I. is easier to speak on. He was mostly there as a court jester. He absolutely had no information. If you watch the thing, I'm sure you could agree that he didn't say anything the entire time. It was almost like he was on a talk show trying to get the crowd to clap for the things that he was saying, and Candace pointed that out with the gotcha moments statement that's going viral on the internet right now. He actually didn't have anything productive to add to the conversation. He was on a stage with people seemingly or presented to you as intellectuals, and he was a buffoon. He literally was just talking. He was talking about investment inside of his community. He didn't go into any amount of detail when he was rebutting the fact that Katrina Pearson, who I will talk on in a minute, was making information known about opportunity zones inside urban areas and things of that nature. So he was rebutting her with absolutely nothing. He was talking about the situation as if he had something intellectual to say. I invest in my community. I ain't gonna let no business come here without me getting a little piece of it. Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson are like magnificent minds. To have those two women on a stage having a debate with somebody like T.I. is absolutely ridiculous. He's just there because he dances around on a camera and acts like he wants to save the black community, promoting drugs, death, and sexual culture. It's quite hypocritical. I look forward to the albums where he's on his Lupe fiasco. Tamika Mallory, she's another person that was not saying very much of anything outside of the scope of racism. And when we gotta understand, when somebody has to keep the conversation on fear-mongering, racism, police brutality, racism again, that's how small her agenda is. You have to understand that they are on an agenda and that they have a battery in their back. She is not talking about things that matter to her. She's carrying out the orders of somebody that is paying her. Besides that, she's rude, arrogantly to Katrina and Candace. Very rude to those women. And you could tell that she had complete disdain for them when they weren't even paying her any attention. The base of her conversation is Trump is racist. It's got nothing to do with the black community as a whole, because if it did, what Katrina and Candace were saying would resonate. She's more likely one of those black activists that defend illegal immigrants over her own people inside of her community, and only defend her community at the detriment of the Trump administration. I'm not trying to attack T.I. and Tamika. This is just what I observed on the stage. They didn't put anything on the table regarding where black people need to go to become a better people. What they did put on the stage was, why is America great again? Trump is a racist. police brutality. Somebody needs some water in Michigan. I understand that the Detroit, Michigan water crisis is absolutely real. But the people that are trying to make something happen or do something about that are not liberal. What Team Tamika and T.I. side of the aisle do is post on Instagram that they sent 10,000 bottles of water down there. What the people on the conservative side of the line are going to do, and this, I'm sorry, it's a conservative liberal type of thing in today's world. What the people on the conservative side are going to do is try to empower black people mentally to become independent of the government, so that when things like this happen, we have more control. So I just wanted to say that I'm not targeting these people because I dislike them. I'm targeting them because they didn't actually come up there to have a conversation. They came up there to be seen. Killer Mike was up there, and he made a lot of sense in the things that he was talking about. I was turned off by all of the extra nigga and cussing and all of that, because he wasn't just saying it naturally, he was saying it for the shock value. He thought it was cool to do around a bunch of black people, which tells me how intellectual he actually is. Now, regarding reading books and all of that, that's great. I mean, I disagree with some of the books that he would want you to read. He made a lot of sense, and he was literally saying everything Candace Owens was trying to say, but he got applause because he's not supporting Trump. I give him credit for actually defending Candace against hecklers in the crowd, and I give him credit for understanding those same things, but I call him a hypocrite at the same time because he made a big point of the two sides of the panel arguing over who had the best master or the greatest master. But I recall him supporting Bernie Sanders and going to the front lines for Bernie Sanders, who is a socialist. He's an admitted socialist. So you were literally fighting for your master. He would have been your master, literally. He just didn't deserve that height of admiration from the comment section or the crowd, because everything that he said is based on today, after he done got burned by his white master that he put all his hopes into, and he probably voted for Hillary at the end of the day. He took shots at her and Joe Biden for the injustices of the policy or the legislation that they put forth that puts black people in jail at twice the rate of other nationalities. Generally, I like a lot of the stuff he was saying about black empowerment and teaching black people things that they didn't know about when America was great again. There's multiple periods of American greatness that we can look to. We can look to when black people were segregated and had to create their own businesses and created wealth through being forced to be independent and rely on themselves. We can look at just a few decades ago when I was a child. When I was a child and I went to the corner store, the people that owned it were black and were from my neighborhood. So if I was doing something bad, they just call my mother. They'd call my mother. They'd call my parents or bring me home with something like that. If I didn't have enough money for something, they might let me just take it for free. Like these are the things that made our communities great back then, when I was a child, and that wasn't too long ago. So I can remember a time when I was young where I really look back and reminisce on and say, man, I wish I missed those days. I missed that time when family was important. I missed that time where there wasn't a bunch of foreigners in my community looking at me like I was a piece of dirt or treating me like I was a dog. Those are just two examples, and Killer Mike put that on the forefront. Yes, there were times when America was great. Overall, I liked his set and I liked his point of view on things because he was, unlike Tamika and T.I., he was being realistic. And it may have come from the time that he did with Bernie and the Democratic Party, that woke him back up and snapped him back out of it. But he sounded like Candace Owens. Candace Owens was the absolute enemy on the stage. Every time she opened her mouth, you could hear either Tamika Mallory or T.I. or multiple people inside the crowd attacking her. And that's because she puts the mirror up to your face and makes you look at yourself. She tells you that you're being programmed, and you don't want to believe that you're being programmed by the same people that are oppressing you. And so when she was up there talking about black illiteracy, fatherless homes, and a welfare state, giving a woman an incentive to either entrap the father of their children inside the government system by putting them on welfare or child support, is actually doing more harm than helping the black community. He talks about how illegal immigration is destroying our community. We can look around if you walk down your boulevard, you'll see that everything's owned by Asians, Arabs, Africans, and Spanish speaking nations. Black people own nothing anymore, unless you're in Alabama or Atlanta. Like Killer Mike said, those states are like Wakanda. Atlanta is Wakanda for real. That's why it's riddled with AIDS, because they're not going to let black people have all that success and not be facing some kind of famine and disease. It's like demons have possessed a large portion of the black community, and it's like exorcism when you tell them about that stuff that they've been able to ignore for so long. They scream and they shriek and they react like demons. That's pretty much it for her. She stood her ground and she brought information to the table, which in a normal form of people would have garnered, standing applause and ovation, which Killer Mike got for saying the same thing. And she was heckled and harassed the entire time she was trying to speak, so she didn't get to say much. Killer Mike, essentially, it was his show. They let him talk for minutes on end, while other commenters got seconds, which I think is unfair. But again, it's the beginning. It's the first conversation. Katrina Pearson, again, she's just like Candace Owens. She's a walking mental computer that can give you information and facts on multiple things that you want to know. She tried to bring it down to the hood level a little bit, which got her an embarrassing moment when she says, "You want ASAP Rocky? I'll make a phone call." Yeah, that was kind of corny. But the fact is, she was giving you information about what the Trump administration is doing for the black community, and whether or not the people showed her that they got that information. They got that information because she said it right there on a hip-hop forum, P. Diddy's forum, where black people all across the country are watching and agreeing. I do it every day with black people. I put that information in front of them, and it's information that you can't really react in a bad way to or be angry about. So you have to kind of be head in the clouds, crazy, and just hate anything that's aligned with the name of Trump to not get those facts that she was putting forth. And I'm speaking in terms of black immigration, illegal immigration affecting our neighborhoods, similar to what Candace Owens did. I'm talking about opportunity zones in black communities, and giving hundreds of billions of dollars to black HBCUs. These are just a few things that she put out inside the public sphere of information for black people to know, because I can guarantee you most of the people inside that audience, or most of the black people generally, didn't know about those things that President Trump did. She also pointed out justice reform, the First Step Act. And I'm pretty sure a lot of black people had no idea about that, or like one of my friends on Facebook thought Barack Obama passed that. So I'm almost sure he wasn't the only person that was misinformed on who passed that First Step Act that helped so many black men, or is still helping so many black men come back and become a part of society again, working class society. Two acolytes were on a stage against one centrist I would call Killer Mike, and some extreme left-leaning socialists. I don't really like calling them liberals anymore. I call them socialists. And there was one thing missing that I think was by design, and that was a panel chair for a black conservative man. They had two black conservative women up there, which is great. These two women are some of the most powerful voices in black politics, or in politics in general. That gives them even more power. But the fact is that they were ganged up on by the crowd, a radical left-leaning woman and a radical left-leaning rapper in T.I. And they had no defense. They had no backup aside from the hand up that Killer Mike gave to Candace Owens, which I respect. There was no black conservative male up there who could have took control of the conversation and had a different point of view of conservatism from the two women that were up there. Not different as in opposing, but different as in being able to come stronger and come and bring the conversation or bring the points home in a way that Candace and Katrina weren't given the chance to do because of the covenant against them. I would like to see the next one have Brennan Tatum up there, Dave Chappelle. I know, I'm just joking. Anthony Bryan Logan, Jericho Green, and myself. I've got to plug myself in there too. But there are a great vast amount of black conservative men who probably were in their seats cringing because they wish they could have been on that stage. Generally, it was a good conversation because the conversation was happening. Not too much sense was made outside of Killer Mike, Candace, and Katrina. But that was three people that were having a good conversation, inside my opinion. And it was good for black people to see other black people with opposing views sit down and have a rational debate without pointing fingers all in faces and jumping up wanting to fight, which is generally what's promoted to black people, and that's partly why black people can't talk to each other without somebody being attacked. So I'm gonna leave it right there, guys, and let me know if you guys watched the Revolt Summit that happened last night and what you thought about it. Get in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Black country, young rebels, revolutionaries fighting for what's right. Your thrones are too high, you need to come back down to earth. We're real people, you fall, we still see you. You lost, we won't leave you, I promise that. What the hell does it mean to act your own age? I said forget what's sin, I make my own wave. Prodigy went to his grave, trying to save you niggas from yourself. Black contra men are brave.